projects, ambassador in different countries. He has got lots of ideas on this. Besides that, Vivek Patnaik and Dr. Santosh Mahapatra, they will also express their views. Now I will request Dr. Malay Misra to kindly express your opinion on this topic.
Our streaming is live, sir.
Okay, sir.
देखो तो मोबाइल तोड़े लिंक टा पठेइली
साउंड के डिस्टर्ब करंतु नहीं साउंड बंद करी कथा बोलतु डॉक्टर Malay Misra, are you hearing me, sir?
खेल तो भी हमर समस्त जानकर
Dr. Malay Misra, are you hearing me?
मोड़ा खुला लिंक टा टच करो
Malay sir, please turn on your sound.
Hello.
Voice. Yes, yes.
Good evening, everybody.
Sir, please speak, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Bardao, for inviting me to this discussion. I see some old friends like Dr. Santosh Babu and, of course, Vivek sir. And well, the topic is very well timed, because I think just after a month of Donald Trump's taking over as the US president for the second time, we will review the last month's policies and programs he has announced already, and how it impacts the global order and how it impacts India. That is the topic. Very relevant topic. Now, let me first go through the various perspectives which are emanating from this, very important discussion. I would name three perspectives which I have been researching and finding there are three distinct narratives which are coming out of this subject. One is, of course, the government narrative, the controlled media narrative, and there is another narrative which is a foreign media narrative, which also joins with some social media groups in India who are also seem critical of what has happened over the last few days and weeks between India and US. And there is a third narrative also, which is, you can say, a kind of a sobering narrative, which has taken a kind of a objective view, studying the press statements, the joint press conferences of both sides during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Washington, 12-13 February, and then President Trump's various announcements regarding India and regarding various global conflicts.
Sir, just a minute. आपनकर double voice आछि. आपनकर mobile down अछि की? आपनकर double voice आछि. Double voice.
More of face ठीक दुसुनी आपनको.
हाँ, नहीं आपनकर voice टा double आछि. आउ गोटे mobile on अछि की? गोटे instrument करछन तो.
Mobile मु बंद कर दोछि. बंद कर दो.
बंद कर दियो.
minute. एबे ठीक अछि.
हाँ ठीक अछि कोंतु. जति ठीक अछि बुझबो.
Okay, I'll now quickly rush.
Sir, perfect.
As I said, there are different narratives, and it is very critical to take a very sobering view of the situation. What is going on between India and US? The picture is not quite clear. The picture is hazy. So we need to find some kind of a direction, some kind of an indication about the topsy-turvy, the twists and turns in the relationship. I will first start with maybe what has impacted India and what is likely to happen to the future of India-US relations.
Sir, Malay sir, sorry to interrupt you.
Now, the impact on
Hello.
India is going to be felt for a very long
Sir.
time, in my view.
Sir, ଆପଣଙ୍କର
After
double sound ଆସୁଛି
Prime Minister
ଦୟାକରି
Modi's visit,
କଣ ଆସୁଛି ଡବଲ
ଟିକେ
ଭଏସ?
YouTube
in my
ମଳେ ସାରଙ୍କର
opinion,
ଡବଲ ଭଏସ ଆସୁଛି
did not seem
YouTube ର
very
ଯଦି
favorable towards
ଚଲଉଛନ୍ତି
India.
ଷ୍ଟ୍ରିମିଂ ତାକୁ ବନ୍ଦ
In
କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ
other words, we did not
କଣ
have
କରିବେ
much of
streaming ରେ?
concrete outcomes
ମଳେ ସାର
from the visit.
YouTube ର
There were
ଷ୍ଟ୍ରିମ୍
not many
ଚଲଉଛନ୍ତି ବୋଧେ
takeaways from
ସେଥିପାଇଁ
the
ସେ
visit,
ଡବଲ ସାଉଣ୍ଡ
except
ଆସୁଛି
some promises, except
Sir,
some talks about holding, a bilateral trade agreement and fixing
Sir.
tariffs. Now, Trump
just a minute.
raised the matter of reciprocal tariffs.
Sir, Dr. Mishra, just a
Reciprocal
minute.
tariffs for the first time
Sir,
with
sir.
all countries, not only India, but all countries. So
Sir,
he
Dr.
has
Sir,
not
sir.
directly hit India with this reciprocal tariff weapon, but all countries, including China and Mexico and all other countries. And
Dr.
he
Mishra,
has
hello.
completely
Hello.
disagreed with the WTO formulation of giving some kind of a leverage to the developing countries like India who are
Just a
emerging.
minute. Sir, just a minute. ଆପଣଙ୍କର YouTube streaming ଟା ବନ୍ଦ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ। ଆପଣଙ୍କର YouTube streaming ଚାଲିଛି। ଭଏସ କଟିଗଲା। ଆପଣ YouTube streaming ଚାଲିଛି। YouTube streaming ଟା ବନ୍ଦ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ। ଆପଣ ଡବଲ ଭଏସ
hello.
ଆସୁଛି ତ?
Yeah.
ଆପଣ ଡବଲ ଭଏସ ଆସୁଛି ତ? YouTube streaming ଟା ବନ୍ଦ କରିକି ଖାଲି Zoom ରେ ଚାଟ କରନ୍ତୁ।
double. ନାଇଁ ମୋର କିଛି ଆଉ ନାହିଁ। Am I not clear? Am I not clear?
ନା ଆପଣଙ୍କ ଡବଲ ଭଏସ ଆସୁଛି କଣ ପାଇଁ? ଡବଲ ଭଏସ।
ନାଇଁ ସେମିତି କିଛି ନାହିଁ ମୋର କିଛି ନାହିଁ ମୋ
ନାଇଁ ସାର୍ କ୍ଲିୟର ଭଏସ ଆସୁଛି।
YouTube
ମୋବାଇଲ ବନ୍ଦ ହେଇଯାଇଛି। ମୋ ମୋବାଇଲ is off. So
YouTube
whatever I am saying, you will have to bear with me. ମୁଁ କିଛି
ନା,
କରି
ଆପଣ
I can't help it.
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ଆପଣ
ମୋ
YouTube
ପାଖକୁ
ଟା
ତ ଡବଲ
ଖୋଲିଛନ୍ତି
ଭଏସ କିଛି ଆସୁନି। ମୁଁ ସାରଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଭଏସ ଶୁଣୁଛି ଡବଲ ମତେ ତ ଶୁଭୁନି।
Actually,
ତାହେଲେ ସେ
clear
ଯୋଉ
ଶୁଭୁଛି।
ଶୁଭୁଛି ତାହେଲେ।
ସାର୍ ଏବେ କ୍ଲିୟର ଅଛି କ୍ଲିୟର ଅଛି ଏବେ କ୍ଲିୟର ଅଛି
ମତେ ବି clear ହଉଛି।
Santosh Babu, can you hear me?
Yes.
ମୁଁ ସାର୍ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ପୁରା ଶୁଣୁଛି ସାର୍।
You
I'm
can
also
hear
able
me.
to hear.
ଅବି କ୍ଲିୟର
I-
ଅଛି you can continue sir
ପ୍ରତାପ କୁମାର ବାବୁ ଆପଣ ମତେ ଶୁଣି ପାରୁଛନ୍ତି କି?
ସାର୍ କ୍ଲିୟର ସାର୍ ଆପଣ କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
ଆଉ ତାହେଲେ ମୋର ଟିକେ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ଆଉ କିଛି
କିଛି ନାହିଁ କିଛି problem ନାହିଁ। I'm able to hear.
ସାର୍ you carry on
Sir, Vivek sir, can you hear me?
Absolutely. Perfectly.
Okay, all right. Let me continue.
Okay.
There were three basic metrics to evaluate the recent visit of Prime Minister Modi to Washington to meet President Trump. But before I take on these metrics, let me first discuss the optics of the visit. The optics of the visit, whosoever have seen social media and other media, do not seem quite favorable towards India. In the beginning, of course, there was stories that Prime Minister Modi wanted an invitation to attend the inaugural ceremony of President Trump. There was no inaugural invitation, though President Trump invited President Xi of China personally to come to the inauguration. He sent his vice president. But in India's case, there was no such invitation. And our foreign minister, Mr. Jaishankar, he represented India at the inauguration. We saw some optics of the inaugural ceremony where Mr. Jaishankar was not very well handled as India's envoy. That was the first optic. The second optic was when Prime Minister Modi landed in Washington, D.C. for his visit after he was invited formally by President Trump. There were no senior officials at the airport from the US administration side to receive him, which in my view was a breach of protocol. Not much is mentioned about it in the media because the airport was not very much lit and not many people could see that when a prime minister of such an important country like India visits also an important country like US, normally senior ministers at least are there, if not the dignitary himself. But in our prime minister's case, that was not happening. And second was when he visited the White House, and three other heads had already visited the White House before Prime Minister Modi. They were namely the Japanese Prime Minister, the Israeli Prime Minister, and the Jordanian King. All three had visited, and all three had been welcomed by President Trump personally at the gate of White House, at the door. He was standing at the door and talking to the media and having photo ops with the media outside. But when Mr. Modi came, he wasn't there. He wasn't there for welcome. So there was no formal welcome to the Prime Minister when he was entering the White House main entrance. There was a junior official of the Trump administration who came and welcomed Mr. Modi and took him inside. These things were a little disturbing because it doesn't happen like that. Normally, in protocol terms, it was some kind of a breach of protocol. Added to this, besides this kind of a treatment which our Prime Minister got, there was also by that time, Prime Minister reached Washington, D.C. on 12th of February, 12th, 13th, he was there. Now, on 5th February, a plane load of some 114 immigrants landed in Amritsar, illegal immigrants, chained, handcuffed, in very poor condition, in very distressed conditions. They landed in Amritsar, and there was no question raised about it. There was no question. There was some discussion in the parliament, to which our foreign minister said that there is standard operating procedure, SOP, which the US follows. And it seems this has been going on since 2009, since the presidency of Barack Obama. This has been going on every year. Hundreds and sometimes even thousands of illegal Indians are being sent back to India. But whether they are sent back handcuffed, in manacles, chained, like hardcore criminals, that was not discussed in the earlier times. It was only during this period that we saw Indians being very, very poorly, very shabbily, very humiliatingly treated as hardcore criminals, as if they were criminals. Now, a country like Colombia, when the same treatment was given to them, the Colombian president made a huge fuss about it. He said that we are not going to accept our immigrants on a US military aircraft. We will send our aircraft to receive our people. And when the Colombian immigrants, one batch of them, landed in Bogota, President of Colombia himself went to the airport to receive the Colombian immigrant, saying that an immigrant is not a criminal. He's entitled to his own dignity, to his own, his position, his rights as a human being. Whereas this did not happen in the case of India. So this was a bit humiliating. This was not a good opening for such a high-level bilateral summit. And that was the first time Mr. Modi was meeting Mr. Trump in his second presidency. And now on 15th and 16th of February, there are two aircraft loads of immigrants landing in Amritsar. And the latest we hear is another fourth batch of immigrants, again handcuffed, again in chains, landing in Panama, in a country in Panama, in Central America. And they have gone via Nicaragua and Costa Rica to reach Panama, and they are now kept in a hotel in Panama, as the Indian embassy in Panama has informed the government of India. So that again is a departure from the so-called standard of SOP, standard operating procedure. It shouldn't have happened. There should have been no third country giving asylum or giving shelter to our immigrants. We should have recognized our people and brought them back home in a dignified manner in our aircraft, as we had done in the past. We had rescued distressed Indians from various situations in Kuwait, in Iraq, in North Africa, in various conflicting situations in Libya. We had ferried with our own ships, with our own aircraft. So there was no reason why we should have accepted US military aircraft to be carrying these on a 40-hour haul back to India. It was rather humiliating for everybody in India. There have been strong articles in the Indian media on this, and people have just not liked this kind of behavior. Now, this being the backdrop, now what are the substantive points which were discussed between the two leaders? Now, there were three substantive points, and then I'll come to the peripheral points. One was on trade, the second was on tariffs, and the third one was immigration. Immigration was not touched. So, which means this manner of sending out, illegal, undocumented Indian immigrants back to India was not raised by the Indian side at all during the talks. A very important point to note. Now, on trade, as I said, President Trump, just hours before Prime Minister Modi was to land in Washington, he announced in an executive order imposition of reciprocal tariffs. Now, this was not also done before. Reciprocal tariffs, and then he said, no one can argue with me. In a press statement, he said that Mr. Modi was saying, no, we'll not accept this. So Mr. Trump argued with him saying, no, this is our policy now. We will put as much tariff on your exports to America as you would put on our exports to India. So, and he said, between both sides, they agreed that trade will be balanced out. Presently, India-US bilateral trade is touching about $135 billion. I think Santosh Babu will correct me on this, out of which we have a trade surplus of $35 billion with America. America is one of the few countries with whom India has a trade surplus now. Unfortunately, this trade surplus may quickly convert into trade deficit, and for that, we need to take precautions. One understanding both sides had was that both sides agreed to finalizing a bilateral trade agreement in which the various products, Indian products going to US and US products coming to India, they will be listed and tariffs will be matched product to product. And whatever tariffs we put, they will also put similar tariffs. So it was a kind of a tariff war, you can say, a kind of a trade war which Trump has initiated with India, and India will be at the losing end. Why? Because the rupee is showing a constant decline vis-a-vis the Indian dollar. So in the long run, Indian exports will decline in value, whereas US imports into India will go up. Now, there were various things which India wants to sell to India. First of all, this so-called F-35 stealth fighter jets. We have never used American fighter planes on our airspace in any battle. We have never used American jets because this particular jet, this F-35 jet, is a very, very expensive jet and very expensive to maintain, this jet, which for India will be a big drag on its economy. If we take these jets, we cannot maintain them properly, and to take them over a longer period of time will be disastrous for us. We have already diversified our defense supplies, gone to Russia, to France, to Israel, to various other countries for our defense this thing. So our basic task will be now to build our self-reliance in arms production, arms manufacturing and production, which we are doing to some extent, but we need to continue with that. The second very important point which Trump told is we meaning America, is the largest producer of oil and gas in the world. Though they are not part of OPEC, they are not part of OPEC plus 2, yet America is #1 in oil and gas production, and they want to sell oil and gas to India. India seems to have agreed to buy American oil and gas as one of the 35 odd suppliers of oil and gas, because we are 70% dependent on fossil fuel imports, as we all know. And this 70% of oil and gas will be divided among many diverse sources of supply. But the distance between US and America will be prohibitive. So the cost of oil and gas will accordingly go up, and Indian economy will be badly affected by this kind of a thing, that we have to buy oil from so far when we were getting cheaper oil, much cheaper oil from Russia. And we are still getting the oil. And at one time we were equalizing with China in terms of our oil and gas imports from Russia. Now that is going to break, and we are going to instead go to America and to buy their oil and gas from such a long distance that it will completely impair our economy. Our rupee value is going down. Our share market is in distress. Our inflation is sky high. And on top of it, this burden of oil and gas in higher prices. And if we are taking these jets, they're also at higher prices. That will be kind of very, very difficult to sustain. So that is another big point which I wanted to flag.
Okay, sir. Let us listen from others.
How much time I have got?
Sir, already 35 minutes over.
Okay, I'll just wrap up some global conflicts. The Ukraine conflict, which Trump has said, he made a 90-minute phone call with with Putin. After which, soon after that, the next day only, both sides met, and they met without the participation of either Europe or Ukraine. In that, Ukraine objected, but now there is supposedly a deal going on between US and Ukraine bilaterally for picking up, minerals, which are the rare earth minerals which Ukraine has. America wants to pick that up in lieu of the billions of dollars of arms which America has already supplied to Ukraine. Now, the second issue, which is very, very disturbing, is the issue of Gaza and Hamas. Now, Trump has said that these 2.3 million Palestinians, who are still there in Gaza, they should be shifted out of Gaza, out of Palestinian territory, and these Hamas people, all Palestinians, including Hamas, should be shifted out to other Arab countries like Jordan and Egypt. So when the king of Jordan came and he appeared for a press conference with US Trump, President Trump, he flatly rejected this idea. So did Egypt. Egypt president was supposed to meet Trump. He never visited Washington, D.C. They had an emergency meeting in Riyadh under Saudi Arabia's auspices, where all the Arab states were in unison rejecting Donald Trump's this preposterous proposal to vacate completely the territory which Palestinians call their homeland. They all are rooting for a two-state solution to the Palestinian situation. On neither of these issues, India has raised any voice. Though India had mediated in these conflicts in the past by going to Russia, by going to Ukraine, even saying a few words about the role of dialogue and diplomacy which India advocates, India has not uttered a single word on these two issues. This is conflicting. Now, the third, very important, is the question of China. Trump seeks to have a rapprochement with China after he has finished with Russia. This will be debilitating for India, because if US, befriends China, back to the Kissinger days I'm talking about, then India's role as a buffer against Chinese expansionism in this region, that will go down. This is directly related to India's role in BRICS, because according to Donald Trump, BRICS is dead. They don't want BRICS at all. They are against a BRICS currency. They are against de-dollarization, which China and Russia are spearheading. So this is the attitude of the US. All in all, the visit, I think we have to wait and watch how is it further unraveling. But at this moment, when I talk to you, I would say that there are more negatives than positives in our present relationship with US. I end here. If there are any questions later, I am willing to take the question. Thank you very much, Bardhav.
Okay, sir. Sir, you are in ill. I think somebody has to like to question. They can put some question, because Dr. Misra is on ill and he want to take rest. So if anybody have any question, he can put.
Sir, exactly. Just I want to put something. Exactly. So far, the invitation of our Prime Minister to Trump it was seen some section of European media and also Western media that during the time of election, Trump team wanted PM Modi to lend his support so that it will help the Indians, a lot of voters in USA to support him. But that time, the PM Modi avoided because he found that the which Howdy Modi convention, which was done in Houston in 2019, it backfired when Trump administration one was there. So that was the reason that Trump did not take it properly and did not invite it to Prime Minister Modi. Is it a fact or it is just a rumor in media?
Yes, yes, it is a factor to reckon with. In fact, to answer your question, I'm a little disturbed. I am disturbed because the bonhomie, the personal chemistry between Mr. Modi and Mr. Trump, which we saw during Trump's first presidency, we do not see
Yes.
now. We didn't see that during the recent meeting between the two leaders. None at all. On the contrary, we saw a very rough body language on the part of Trump towards Mr. Modi in a humiliating way, which was not even friendly. So that was my.
There was also.
Oh, yes, the election factor is there. But you see, you link it with the US aid business, where Trump, just 2 days back at a governor's meeting, he has directly named Mr. Modi as a beneficiary of the US aid support of $21 million for voter turnout in India.
No,
That
sir.
also has been taken up by the Indian media.
Sir,
The Congress is asking for a white paper, and this has raised further controversies.
No, sir. Sir, so many media sections it is told that the Biden administration wanted change of Modi. That is why it was funded by USA.
Yeah, so the white paper which the Congress is asking, maybe
sections,
you see this US aid has been going on.
Congress is asking for white paper to wash their hands. Exactly that time the USA aid was mobilized to campaign against Modi and also to change the political landscape in Bangladesh also, which Sheikh Hasina leaked, and a lot of people told that no, that is not USA interruption. Now, with the Dutch, that is the Department of Government Efficiency headed by Elon Musk. Now, he has found that a lot of USAID was just given for all these political causes in various parts in the of the world.
You are right. You are right. I think they are removing this US aid from many countries, including India, Bangladesh, and all, because they say that why we will support voter turnout in other countries. That is the question which Trump has raised.
Yesterday,
and yes, the Biden administration may have funded. We do not know. And frequently the BJP rakes the name of Soros Congress liaison and all that stuff. But it transpires that Soros is a non-entity for India.
Soros is a proven fact. His relation with the Sam Pitroda, it is we have seen in a different congressional and also US Samiti that Soros has appeared in multiple times with Mr. Sam Pitroda and Harsh Mandar. So there may be, but the thing is that
I think it's more of a political game which both Congress and BJP are playing at each other. Soros is not a factor, and US aid, yes, one decision Trump has taken is there'll be no US aid further to India and to other countries also.
For other countries, he has made it in a global scale. But yesterday, the Italian Prime Minister Meloni has made some very disturbing speeches that when Clinton and Biden was there, what they are doing there, it was being called that they're the statesmen. But when the Trump and others are doing that, it is being called as hackies. And the left liberals are mostly impacted and affected. How far it is holds good?
Well, it is true that, the so-called deep state of America, which was there since the period of Clinton, Barack Obama, all those presidents were there. The deep state was definitely involved in influencing various countries through its so-called military-industrial complex by supplying arms. I mean, Ukraine war is a direct product or a direct byproduct of the military-industrial complex. So they wanted to send out the arms and ammunition to various parts of the world to keep their military-industrial complex running. So, I think we should avoid falling into that trap, in my personal view.
Okay, sir, we'll go ahead.
America does not make much sense to us. We need not. We could boost our own self-reliance in armaments production and all that, and we need not go into those expensive American armaments, jets, missiles, etc., and unnecessarily pay money to the Americans. I think, in my view.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Su-57
We'll
is
go ahead.
alternative
We'll
to
go ahead.
F-35, sir.
Mr. Raut, we'll go ahead.
Okay, okay, sir.
Dr. Santosh Mahapatra is there now. I request Dr. Santosh Mahapatra, who is an columnist and economist.
Yes, I am.
The time is very certain, just to give you within 10 minutes.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now it is okay.
अच्छा ठीक है good evening to everybody. Respected Baroda Babu, respected Dr. Molay Misra, respected our chief guest Dr. Vivek Patnaik, and my dear audience, those who are participants. It is a great pleasure for me to speak something with such a great and eminent personality. And primarily, they are not only great personality, they are also a great friend of mine. They are great advisor. They are great inspiration. They have great inspiration for me also. All three people have inspired me a lot in different times. So I feel very happy to be associated with them. And I also need their blessing too. It is a great pleasure to talk on such an important topic. When a person of Indian Foreign Service, ambassador who has spoken, I am very little person to talk with such an important topic. Anyway, we must understand what is USA, what is EGB instinct. USA is never friend of any country, or will be never friend of any country. So, if Indian Prime Minister think that USA is going to help in future, then he is hugging in an illusion. Then he is totally thinking a wrong thing. Always America thinks its own interest. It helps. It also encourages inside terrorism. It helps those countries when its own interest is satisfied. It is never friend of any country. It can change at any time. So, in the past time, as Dr. Molay Misra told, Narendra Modi was not given due respect. But the Prime Minister of a biggest country deserves. That is a very dismal thing, very depressing and dejecting news. Particularly, why USA is and Trump is taking recourse to reciprocal tariff or raising taxes on export from other countries. What we export, that is import from USA, or what USA export to India, it is import for us. It is not only concern about India's relation, it wants to reduce its trade deficit. Primarily, this stems from the very fact economic problem plaguing the USA economy. Particularly what we think, USA economy is not in a good position. And Trump wants to divert the attention of Americans from real problem. And that has crippled the USA economy, which was started from the tax cut of Bush, and again increased tax cut by himself in his past regime. So today, USA economy, size of a USA economy is $30 trillion. Indian economy is less than $4 trillion. America economy is in terms of GDP. It is the first largest economy, but in terms of purchasing power, China is largest economy, followed by USA and India. India has become third largest economy in purchasing power parity in 2011. Now they are talking about third largest economy in nominal GDP. But problem is that USA debt is more than 135% of its GDP. So USA has faced this problem because of a tax cut, corporate tax cut, income tax cut initiated by since Ronald Reagan. They wanted to spur consumption and GDP by cutting the tax of the richer section of the society, which has backfired, and America has been dragged into the debt quagmire. India is following this. India's debt is also increasing, but it is within control. It should be within 60% of a GDP, both the center and state combined, but it is now 83%. Center's debt is 56% of a GDP. So America wants to divert the attention. Second thing is that America trade deficit is huge, as well as fiscal deficit is huge. America is sustaining its economy simple because of its dollar hegemony. Maybe America military #1 country, maybe scientifically much progress, educationally much progress, but financially America is vulnerable. And it is surviving because of China and other countries are depositing their foreign reserves in the America securities. The moment China withdraws its foreign exchange reserves, America economy may collapse. So that is why America is targeting China, and America is using India as the junior strategic partner to outweigh China. Yes, we do not have a better relation with China because as a neighbor, but China is not that dangerous as USA. That we must understand. Next question is that when America economy is, when debt is uncontrolled and a tax cut job plan will end by the end of 2025, Trump have to change the economic structure, and if he wants to gain the popularity by reactionary method, the method which he has adopted is beggar thy neighbor policy, where everybody is going to lose, nobody will gain. Second thing, it is withdrawing the globalization. It is withdrawing from the multilateral system, even bilateral system. And what is globalization? It is not globalization of a human being, it was globalization of finance capital. Actually, when globalization was rampant after the collapse of Soviet Union, at that time everybody advocated for globalization because it was used to benefit the corporates, multinational company of the USA and other countries, not India. Yes, we have benefited, but we have also, inequality has grown, poverty has not decreased, cultural integration has been destroyed. So globalization was order of the day because of interest of the USA and the multinational company, and the entire world was forced to accept the globalization and also reduce the taxes, especially corporate tax. We have also reduced in 2019-20. So America is now unable to sustain its economy, so it is crying in a different way, and it wants to impose sanctions or reciprocal tariffs and to reduce the trade deficit. Particularly, India has one of the highest trade surplus with the USA. China has a trade deficit, USA has a trade deficit with China, European Union, Mexico, Vietnam, Ireland, Germany, but it has a surplus with Netherlands, South and Central America, North King, Australia, United Kingdom. So it has India has around trade, USA, India's import is to USA is around India's import from USA is around $41.8 billion in 2024. But India's export to USA is around $87.4 billion. So India has a trade surplus with the USA, it is around $45.6 billion. But India has a huge trade deficit with China, we must remember. problem is not trade deficit. Since Trump has since the first regime of Trump, India's trade deficit, USA trade deficit has not declined. USA health, economy health has not improved. So Trump's policy of make American great again is only to divert the attention and it will backfire. Particularly, but USA imports something to us, and we also export something to USA. Particularly, what the India imports mineral fuels, steels, organic chemicals, plastics, processed foods, nuclear reactors, boilers, and also armaments. Similarly, India export to USA or USA imports from the India. It is diamonds, jewelry, agricultural products, refined petroleums, rice, dairy products, pearls, precious jewels, drug formulation, telecom instruments, so and so. So, what important thing we have read in this college, that is infant industry argument. Infant industry argument means weak economy, weak industry needs protection through tariff. For example, India is a developing country, USA is an advanced country. Indian industry all cannot compete with the USA industry. That is why when we import goods and services or goods from such big country, we have to impose more tariff, so enable our industries to survive, to sustain the competition. That is known as the infant industry argument. So there was a tariff, huge tariff, and which has reduced after globalization. Now America is retreating globalization, and the very policy of tax cut imposed by Ronald Reagan has failed. Similarly, there is no alternative privatization policy of Margaret Thatcher has failed today. So globalization, retreat of globalization will cause more problems to entire world economy. I am not in favor of unbridled globalization. I am also not against globalization. But I want to tell that every country should have its own capacity, strength to open an economy and close an economy. For example, in the last budget, the government has increased FDI limit to 100% in insurance sector. So because under pressure, what is important? Government should have a power to control the economy. But in the globalization process, in market economy, stock market are playing a dominant role. And the government has a very minimum power to control the administration. Actually, power lies with the global finance capital and corporate sectors. And that has started from the USA policy from Reagan that is going to that has raised inequality. Indians inequality is rampant and it is more than British era. And America inequality is rampant also. And America companies are keeping their money, they are evading taxes and keeping their money in tax havens. Indian companies are also keeping their Indian rich. That is why there is a possibility of to have a minimum corporate tax. That means we have to think that globalization has failed. So America now resorting to such protectionism, such reciprocal tariff. It is reciprocal tariffs means it wants to tell that the amount of tariff one country is imposing on its goods imported, America is likely to impose similar tariff on the what it exports, what it imports from other countries. That will cause a lot of problem, global stability, global trade, world, that will nullify the importance of IMF, World Bank, World Trade Organization. America is also withdrawing very argument. And particularly, I remember in 2017, Washington Post has written an article that death of democracy dies in darkness. It has criticized after Donald Trump taking over the charges. I have also written 2 articles. I have written that this is an uncertainty for 4 years. in world economy is now facing various crises, poly crisis. There is a slowdown. GDP is declining. This policy of USA Trump's protectionism is going to backfire, and it will put not only USA, also other countries. That is why America is also losing the trust, and it is importance as a global leader. So America was never India's friend we know in the past it has helped Pakistan, other countries when there is a war. It has never failed, but America was leaning to India during the Trump first regime because they are threatened by the dominance of the China. That we must understand. So now India is in very precarious position because it has no good relation with China. Now Trump is threatening, and Trump does not want to have a good relation with Narendra Modi or Indian Prime Minister. The way Indian Prime Minister rushed to USA without invitation, it shows this shows that our reputation is at stake. That must be considered. Particularly, India is also agreeing with the imposition rule what USA wants, and it wants to reduce to tariff. Another thing, it wants to import armaments, many which will benefit the USA. It wants to help the USA to reduce the trade deficit. And another thing is that the way America deported the illegal immigrant is very painful. They were what I was reading. They were handcuffed. That is very painful, and it is not the first time. It was earlier, but today it is very in a painful, denigrating way, and that has not evoked reaction in India, neither in the Indian bureaucrats, nor Indian politicians, nor Indian media. When Indians peoples have actually another important thing, this immigrant has created helped American economy grow. They are actually not a problem for American economy because they were doing inferior jobs and they have an immense contribution to the GDP. It is just whims of the Donald Trump. So particularly, I am very sorry that in India, intellectuals, media are very silent, politicians are silent. What was the necessity of Indian Prime Minister rushing to USA when USA has not invited? We have indirectly, we are surrendering to USA imperialism, USA hegemony. We have kept not good relation with China. Now USA is distancing. That means we are nowhere. That is a very precarious position. I do not want to lengthen more topic as time is short. I am very glad that I was invited to discuss with such eminent, great person, and who are also a great source of inspiration to me. Once again I pay my respect to all these seniors. With this, I conclude my speech. Thank you. Namaste.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mahapatra. You have encouraged us by participating. Now we'll request our chief guest, Mr. Vivek Patnaik, who is till he is a columnist and writing articles in different newspapers, and with all his learning has encouraged us a lot. And I would request Mr. Patnaik, please have a review and give your opinion on this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bharada Das, for inviting me to speak. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Well, I thought that you will invite Captain Mishra to speak before you request me to give my views of the chief guest. But nevertheless, since you have already invited me, maybe because of the shortage of time, in the first place, I was very pleased to hear the views of Dr. Ambassador Maulay Mishra and Souls Dr. Santosh Kumar Mahapatra. In addition to that, some questions which were put by Sri Pratap Kumar Mishra and the answers that were furnished. That was a very, very good exchange, and I think the audience must have been very well enlightened. Well, the topic is basically what is the impact of the new dispensation on the global structure, political structure, and then to what extent India is being impacted. First, since I would not like to repeat what has already been spoken by Dr. Mishra and Dr. Mahapatra, they're very relevant points. First, I identify certain things. One is, after Trump has come to power, the extent to which the impact across the world is being seen, it is very unusual. In last 100 years, I have been following events for the last 75 years, from my childhood. I remember when Hitler came to power, well, it impacted Europe. The relationship all of a sudden changed with Russia. Hitler was a good friend of Stalin to start with. Then Poland was divided. Baltic countries were usurped by Russia. And the Second World War started. Similarly, when the Gorbachev resigned and Yeltsin took over, the Soviet Union collapsed. Americans praised Yeltsin. They were previously praising Gorbachev. They thought that he's a messiah. Things changed and the whole world situation completely changed. So one thing which I see, change in a regime in one particular country can impact so much across the world. This is a thing a student of history, student of political science, a student of diplomacy recognize. At the same time, Trump has distanced himself from NATO in the sense it is asking Europeans to contribute more money, but clearly, and this time, he has distanced himself from Europe, which is a new situation. And it has distanced itself from Canada, where historically Canada was considered as a younger sibling of United States. Today, the younger sibling has been threatened that we will take over Canada. I mean, certainly Canadians will not be very happy with that. And moreover, people don't forget that Canada is not Anglophone country completely. It has Quebec. Quebec are French-speaking people. Quebec itself wants to secede from Canada. There have been 2 referenda in Quebec. I was there in Quebec when one of the referenda took place. I know the sentiments of Quebecois. Thirdly, there is a tariff war with Canada, and there is also talk of water sanction. You must realize that Canada is a cornucopia of water resources. And hydroelectricity generated by Canada, particularly Hydro-Quebec, supplies a lot of electricity to United States. I don't know why. Maybe because of that reason, Trump says, well, let Canada be a part. And then again, asking the Greenland. By the way, Greenland is a part of Denmark, but we shouldn't forget, Greenland is a country of indigenous people. They have indigenous government. And that has upset the Europeans. Then next is relationship overnight has changed with Russia. Well, all of us are happy that that there should be better relationship among the countries. Okay, that's good. But look at America supported Ukraine, gave arms and ammunition to fight the war. Suddenly, Ukraine is being considered to be considered to have provoked the war. And they said Ukraine is responsible for the war. And on top of it, Zelensky was being considered to be a darling of Western countries, and most particularly USA. And today, to say that he's a dictator, it sounds quite ridiculous. Then, on top of it, well, to send emissary to Ukraine that give us access to your wealth, mineral wealth, then we'll give you protection. I mean, this is almost like the things which used to happen in the 19th century, the 18th century, when the imperialists were trying to twist the arms of small countries to have access to the markets. We know, if you read the book of William Dalrymple, Anarchy, you will know how British did the same kind of tactics in India to take over. So there are innumerable stories. I don't want to direct that. Then you are the relationship with Latin countries. We all know about the Monroe Doctrine. The United States follows the Monroe Doctrine. But today, Latins are much awakened. I have visited Latin American countries and have been visiting, for your information. For personal reasons, I go. And I see the change of attitude of the Latins. Look at the Colombian president, the way he said that you can't send military aircraft. We will send our aircraft to pick up our Colombian. And Venezuela, Maduro said, welcome them. Okay, if they are not wanted there, they will welcome here. And I think Dr. Malaya Mishra and Dr. Santosh Mahapatra, both of them say, although they are immigrants, they actually contribute a lot to the American economy. The many economists have written this. Incidentally, after Mr. Trump came to power, he has resorted to hire and fire, left, right, and center. He exercises executive power beyond legislative mandate, sometimes against the Constitution of the United States. Look at, according to American Constitution, right to citizenship by birth is recognized under the Constitution. You know the doctrine of jus soli and jus sanguinis. Dr. Malaya Mishra will understand it very well, what it means. This right is available. And now, by an executive act, you can't trample down that law. Now, although people say of trifecta, yes, Trump has won the election. He has got more popular votes than he had got in the earlier mandate. And the Senate is Republican, House of Representatives is Republican. And we all know that US Supreme Court has more Republican judges than Democratic judges. But by the way, the courts of America are independent. They have already stayed the action of abrogation of the rights of citizenship. So please remember, America, in spite of the attitude of Mr. Trump, almost like a monarch is acting. Many journals and political scientists are saying so. And he has not been able to silence the media in United States, Fox News is traditionally pro-Republican. But you see, all of the newspapers, so I have been reading them, and if you watch CNN or even the other media, New York Times, they criticize Trump and Trump's rating. Public rating has fallen below 50% in such a short period of time. This is something which must be recognized. And on top of it, we know that Trump is being guided by some, wealthy people, very strong, wealthy.
Elon Musk.
Oh, yes, Elon Musk is the most, spectacular person, you can say, most visible person. But Trump himself is a businessman. I remember to have visited his Trump Tower in United States way back in 1989 when Trump was not such a big figure. When I was in Canada, and I came to know about Trump, and Trump's first wife was from Montreal. She was of Romanian origin, and so you see, that's why Canadians were taking a lot of interest in Trump when I came to know about him. When I went, but Trump was a huge property. He's a businessman, and he has other people. You see, you can't run a state entirely through business people. I'm not against business. I'm not against private sector. Believe me, I have worked with private sector. Private is a very important segment in economy. They have to continue, they have to contribute, but they have to be regulated because they have to be persuaded to be more oriented towards society. They cannot be only profit-seeking. Anyway, so Elon Musk and others are also doing. You see, there is one saying, Goldsmith saying, where wealth accumulates, men decay. That I think those who studied Goldsmith's poetry must have remembered that. So, and I still remember Bertrand Russell's views about America, that how quickly America is declining in its own culture. It is, which is now visible. So it is a very strange thing. It's a very strange thing that this has happened, but I do not think the rest of the world will just be keeping quiet. There will be resistance from Europe itself, and there is doubtful if Zelensky himself will accept the treaty that will be imposed on him. I don't think so. And then in Arab countries, after Gaza will be converted into what they called Riviera of Middle East. I mean, this is really ridiculous. I mean, do you think Arabs will accept it? Palestinians? Let us remember, I have been following the history as an adult for the last 60 years. I remember the Palestinian War. I remember 48 Palestinian War. I was a very young boy. And then 67. Then 73. Now this is 85. The first 60, 48, 68, and 75, 73 couldn't contain them. Do you think in 2025, Palestinians will change their attitude? They have a deep. They have a very strong case. So to say that all the Palestinians will go to other Arab countries. Not so simple. It will be registered. And one must understand that what has America done in the last 50 years with regard to Middle East, which has given rise to further terrorism across the world. Look at attacking Saddam Hussein on the ground in 30 years, weapons of mass destruction, which he did not.
It was never there.
It was never there. And then in the process, what happened? ISIS came to power. ISIS came to power.
Yes.
And ISIS created problem. Saddam Hussein was a strong man. He never allowed terrorists to grow. Then 9/11, what was the reason of 9/11? It's the Palestinians. You see, not the Palestinians actually played that role. Egyptians played, others played, but the cause of Palestinian was taken up by the hands. Then America started the war for 20 years. And then you have seen how the NATO troops withdrew. It's a disastrous withdrawal. We have seen on the television screen. I also don't understand how in America, when Trump could not be re-elected, I still remember 6th of January 2021, the Congress, that means Capitol Hill, was attacked. I mean, these are strange things. So I don't think this will be successful. He will try to certainly act in his own way. And India need not be afraid of Trump's threats. India is a powerful economy, as rightly said, the third largest economy by what they call purchasing power parity. And India has a big market. As you know, in spite of our difference with China, China and India trade is quite heavy. Just you mean to say America doesn't want to take part. So that apart, China, America cannot sort of must also understand there are a lot of Indians in America holding very key positions. And they're in NASA, they're in very, look at the
FBI director is now Mr. Kash Patel.
Yeah, I mean, of course, but one thing, although they're Indians, they're politically oriented to a Republican Party and Trump, so you cannot expect anything out of them. But what I'm trying to say, Indians, on which Indian government very much depends, we have conference of NRIs, we invite NRIs, even Odisha invited NRIs, so which means we expect them to take interest in India. So if, I don't know to what extent they will take interest, but Indian population there is quite substantial. But then to what extent they will play a role ultimately is very difficult to predict. They have been, unfortunately, not been playing a role in any constructive projects in India. They participate in stock market and they buy stocks, but they don't come forward to invest what they call direct investment. So therefore, these are my views. So India should not be cowed down, according to me. They should find out, they should understand that a bully is always a coward. Thank you very much.
Sir, I have a question, if I may be allowed to ask you.
Yes, please.
Okay. I beg to differ from you in terms of Indian Americans' clout in America. You see, I have dealt with the diaspora, sir. For 3 years, I was Joint Secretary in the Government of India, dealing with the diaspora. I now distinctly feel that the present government, our present government's policy towards the diaspora is sadly going in the wrong way. This illegal immigrants, Indian immigrants, first question is, why did they migrate at all? There was much compulsion for them to migrate out of India. Are we going into those factors, or only just catching the, just the fish superficially that who are sending them? It's not those who are sending them. It is why they are provoked to go into distant countries through the donkey route. And are they not our diaspora? These immigrants, Indians, are they not our people? Then why are we tolerating such kind of indignity heaped on them? And when you say, sir, that we should not be cowed down, that we are a great country and a great nation, well, okay, your nationalistic spirit says that, but the facts on the ground do not. The facts on the ground are completely different, sir. We may be the third largest economy in the world, but it is a superficial statistic. The real statistic that India's inequality is sky high. And I completely agree with Dr. Satyash Mahapatra that this is just a myth that India is a globally economic power. We are not. We are not. We are the poorest GDP per capita among all the G20 countries. So what is our voice? And secondly, sir, if we had a voice, shouldn't we have protested at the humiliating treatment meted out to Indians who had just come back to India? If we had a voice, shouldn't we have protested against when Trump was going all the way to say that India is this, India is that? I mean, why should we take all that insult, sir? I feel as an Indian national, I feel humiliated because of this kind of treatment meted out to our Prime Minister on foreign soil. What did he get in return, sir? You tell me. What was the concrete outcome of his visit? The only outcome I see is that they are prepared to extradite Tawafur Rana, who is a known terrorist who has been involved in the 26/11, those bombings and all that. And there is an old case. And Trump has given us this favor of considering his extradition to India. That is all we have got. Even the so-called personal question of Mr. Adani, now SCC of America, has asked the government of India to kindly make arrangements for extraditing Mr. Adani and his nephew to America to be tried by the American court. So even there also, even for his good friend, Mr. Adani, the Prime Minister has not been much of a success vis-a-vis Trump. So I think there are many myths floating around, sir, and we have to demystify the picture and give, as intellectuals, as savants as you are, and wise people like you are, we have to clearly distinguish the fiction from the reality. And the reality speaks a different story.
Sir, I want to speak 2 minutes, sir, if I would be allowed.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I want to speak 2 minutes, if I would be allowed.
Yes, you should.
Yes.
Brother,
So, I agree. There was completely fall of the relation of which Trump administration 1 and Trump administration 2. But so far, what I have observed from the different media sources, from the international sources, and also some people, those I am connected with the Minister of External Affairs and also Minister of Home Affairs. The thing is that there was a problem, but of late, the government of India has repaired, and Modi's visit has brought some success. I am not talking like a mouthpiece of the government, but the thing is that the trade tariffs which he was trying to impose at a very whimsical way, now they have agreed in principle that they will discuss one-to-one, and it will gradually that tariff factors will be discussed, and the things will be reduced to that impact, and not in a sudden impact. It will be reduced in a different way, and it's discussed again and again. And third is that whatever the Trump was annoyed because of the Modi's visit during Biden period and his precious gift to Biden's family, that was also a personal rift. What I know from the some diplomatic sources whom I know in Indian government. And third is that the Trump has become hawkish not because of only for India. He has acting this fashion with all other countries. Even he has acted with the Latin American countries in the same system and also in other ways. So for these people, those are handcuffed and just chained. Exactly, it is beyond humanitarian view. It should not happen. But some sources just came to know that some Khalistani terrorists were there, and that is why they chained. That is, I don't know how far it is credible, how far it is fact. And third is that this relation, which has been already declined, I am very much sure because Mr. Trump is known for his personal trait in business as a Mr. U-turn. Because when he came to power, he told that Mr. Justin Trudeau, you would be the 51st governor of USA, and Canada would be the 51st state of USA, 52nd state. Then after some period, then he also made a U-turn and just told, no, we shall discuss and regarding Canada issues. Therefore, I don't think being a corporate hunk, because the way he's working, he's not like a politician. He's working like he's a construction, because particularly his business is from real estate. Like a real estate magnate, the fashion they work in corporate sector, we know that fashion is working. And I am very much sure after a certain period, because he is very much angry with the Biden administration, which because when he was tried and prosecuted because of the Capitol Hill matter. So therefore, he's acting like a revengeful matter, because he has had a lot of Federal Bureau of Investigation officers, lot of attorneys appointed by the Biden administration. So I think it will slow down after a certain period. But definitely, what Elon Musk has done, that a lot of problem and corruption was in US aid, and also in the social security aids, which was being given to the people. Those are lived it to 300 years, 400 years. Millions of people, those lived it 200 years, 300 years, they were being beneficiary of the USA social system. So that social security system, which is also nothing but a faulty. So these new things are coming out. Of course, naturally, the USA is in a very shock wave because of the thousands of the hire and fire from the federal structure, the employees. And in overall, it will impact to the global politics and the way that Zelensky is acting. Naturally, to close the war, it is a naturally good point. And if people are blaming Putin that why he just raised the war, I will see in a different prism, because you see in 1953, when Stalin died and Nikita Khrushchev came to power, and there was de-Stalinization of the system, and that was why the China, so Mao Zedong, and has a different, not good relation with the Soviet Russia. And you see the Wars Pact was did in 1954 just to counterbalance to NATO. And when wars was, that pact was dismantled in the 90s. And you see when Mikhail Gorbachev came and he just disintegrated the USSR, there was a common feeling that whatever the wars countries that like your Lithuania, Latvia, all these gradually became member of NATO. And when Ukraine was approaching to become a member of NATO, then Vladimir Putin took the thing very differently, because he did not like that, like Poland and other countries, you want to put the nuclear arsenal border to my country. That was the reason that he was opposing and just invaded the Ukraine. And there is some
Okay.
points are there.
Well, thank you very much. I think Malay Mishra has made observation. You have made your observations.
Yes.
I would respond to that. Yes. What Trump does as president, that is his business. We are discussing what impact it is having on the world. And the fact remains, if Trump makes a U-turn, and it will be good for the world, I'm not questioning, but the present trend is such. Yes, if you go into history, then certainly USSR broke up. Russia wants to reasset under Putin. We know all that. I have written many articles on that, on the subject. When the war started, I actually quoted Kissinger in one of my articles, in which I said it's easy to start a war, but very difficult to stop. Well, the Soviet Union started the war in Afghanistan, and it was a long-drawn war. Soviet Union actually disintegrated partly because of the burden of the war in Afghanistan. Similarly, this war has continued for 3 years. Yes, this war was definitely eminently avoidable. I've written articles. In fact, within 2 months of the war, I said that it should be stopped because it will not take us anywhere. What was Putin asking for? That Ukraine will not join NATO, will not join European Union, don't put nuclear arsenals on the border. Well, these are very reasonable. They should have been accepted by Biden. Okay, but what I'm saying, ridiculous thing, that to call Mr. the darling of United States of one time, that is Zelensky, as a dictator, this is quite ridiculous. Well, you may change your president, but American society should ask this question. Western society should ask this question. So anyway, that is their business. What I find today, the all developed countries of Europe and America are not on the same plane. They're going apart. Maybe it's good for the global South. That's right. It's maybe good for global South. China, who will actually take advantage of it? China, definitely. Do you mean to say if the vacuum is created in Europe, it will be filled up by China? Yes. As regard the non-resident Indians, I think Dr. Malay Mishra is right on the spot. I agree with him. I have been following non-resident Indians for the last 40 years. We invite them. Actually, how many of them have actually come and invested? We talked about Make in India, Make in India. Why didn't these non-resident Indians come forward to do Make in India program? They didn't come forward.
That American dreams is just causing the problem for these people.
That's what I'm trying to say. They are so attached in America, they will not leave and come. That's the reality. Well, they will invest money in what? Take, for example, in shares and real estate. This is one. Second, what I was meaning that we have so many Indians in NATO. Sorry, so not NATO, I'm saying even in the Pentagon. We have in the NASA, in the universities. If they have some love for India, they should be able to what you call put pressure on the White House. Look at the Jews. The Jewish lobby of United States is so powerful. Israel is there. You read the book, O Jerusalem, and you'll know to what extent from the 40s onwards. So if you are so proud of Indian diaspora, let the Indians try to put pressure. If the Jews could do it, why you can't do it? This is what I'm trying to say. So therefore, frankly speaking, this is, according to me, it is not a catharsis. Trump coming to power is creating a lot of disturbances in the global politics. I know. It's not a catharsis. It's a passing phase. Just the way I will tell you that breaking of the Soviet Union looked like a catharsis. But tell me today, within 10 years, what happened? The crisis took place in America itself, subprime crisis. Lehman Brothers collapsed. Banks and institutions collapsed.
Yes. And
then people realized that is not the way out. And what has happened? China has emerged. We may not like China for our reasons, but China is a powerful nation. Malay and myself, we have been discussing this for over the years. And I subscribe to Malay's views. Yes, we are a third purchasing power parity country, but we have not been able to consolidate ourselves as a global power so far. I've written articles recently, which is published. I think Barada Das has circulated. We have to So what has happened? China is a very powerful nation today. So we have to recognize that. I personally feel that Trump's coming is not a cathartic is not a catharsis. It is a passing phase. These are my views. And India should not be buckled down. As Malaya rightly said, Indian should not buckle down. They should put their head high, and they should try to see that we are not a small country, that we should be trampled down. See, do you think, let me just ask this question. If there is a war between China and India, do you think Americans will come to fight war for India? No.
No one is likely to.
No, nobody will come to fight.
Neither
We have to
Russia
fight.
nor
Nobody
neither.
will come. We will have to fight. So therefore, let us be strong. Let us be strong how? First, we should be strong financially, economically, politically. There should be no differences within the country. We should not be having division on the grounds of religion, caste, linguistic. These are the dividing factors in India. They should be, we should all try to cement those factors and then try to see the public sector, private sector, conflict should not be there. All sectors to contribute to the economic growth of the country. This is an octogenarian like me having is suggesting.
So small thing I will say, only 1 minute, sir. That what the Adani issue, just I have studied that, I have gone through that, because the what the American stock exchange, what they have told that it is an offense. If you just go detailed of the matter, it is clearly
frankly,
that clearly the Adani has applied to the Indian politicians and Indian people, not to the any American institution or American.
Frankly speaking, I do not want to go into that subject.
Again, it is also constitutionally they have no authority to investigate corruption of Indian politicians in US state. It was against the sovereignty. So if you go for proper that.
That's a
I'm
view.
not defending it. I'm not defending any business house,
No,
but
that's
the
a
real
view.
factors I have considered.
That's
that
a
thing.
view.
And third is that now, sir, Cold War is over. Now it is a unipolar world. And
Is it unipolar?
Yes, sir. Now, sir, I shall call
I
it
don't
unipolar
think.
because unipolar in the sense, you see, BRICS, we have some expectation BRICS is coming up, and if BRICS brings a currency and it will challenge to US dollar, then there would be some equilibrium in the world economy system.
No, please
But
let us understand.
After Trump came and he dismissed that, and BRICS is dead. So naturally, it will create problem.
Don't go by that. BRICS is not dead. Global South is not dead. Let's not try to underestimate. Let us not forget that.
No, not dead. That currency.
Listen. One thing. Russia has fought the war for 3 years, but Russia has been weakened, but still a strong power. China continues to be a powerful country, and so therefore it is not unipolar. It is not unipolar. There is counterbalancing factors in the whole world.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you agree?
I fully agree with you, sir. There is no unipolar world now, Mr. Pratap Kumar. It is a multipolar world. There are several poles. India is an emerging pole.
Yes, India
the big players are Russia and China. Why do you think Trump is inviting personally Xi to his inaugural? Why do you think he's having a 90-minute call with Putin? Because he wants to break this nexus between Russia and China, where the nexus which he thinks as a threat to America's so-called unipolarity, which is not there. And I feel that India, is my own personal view, should shore up its own defenses, shore up its own economy, build its own self-reliance, and also go out to regional arrangements in the region and its neighborhood. Its neighborhood is in not good shape. They are all running towards China. So that should be controlled also. Indian subcontinent has to have an Indian presence, not a Chinese presence. We are not going to China's territory to acquire any piece of land there. Why are they coming to Bangladesh? Why are they coming to Nepal? We should check that. We should seriously introspect on our weaknesses instead of calling ourselves a big power.
China is the modern day East India Company.
And I fully agree with Vivek sir that China is a big power. We are no match for China. We are no match. And so what we need to do, we need to make friends with China. And to counteract, this is a world which is a dog eat dog world. And everybody is free to do what they want to do. And you cannot just rest on your laurels that you are a BRICS member, you are a Quad member, you are in both groups, so you are sitting tight. No, that is not the position we should have. We should go out and build our own strengths. We should realize that we are 140 crore people. And tremendous diversity. We are breaking down ourselves, our society. We are polarizing our society. We are hitting at our minorities. Our democracy is eroding. All these are minus factors which goes into breaking and making our system more fragile. And how do we stand up in the world as a big nation? So I don't see any ethical sense in calling ourselves a great nation when we have so much of fissures within us. So the ultimate instance, I would say Trump will come, Trump will go. Doesn't matter. I agree with Vivek sir completely. It's a phase. It's a phase. But the point which you have to take away from this discussion is India has to build its strength. It is no Jumla. MAGA is equal to MIGA is equal to MEGA. These are all pure rhetoric. They make no sense. If you want to make India great again, by God's sake, make India great again. Don't say that MAGA will join with MIGA to become MEGA. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think that should be the answer to all this situation. We have to fight for ourselves. There's nobody else fighting for us. America is not going to fight a war against China. No question. Even with Pakistan. If yesterday Pakistan was affronting our territory, China could be behind it. The Belt and Road Initiative could be behind it. And India has taken a strong position. Keep to it. Keep to it. Solidify your borders. Just check your neighborhood is in danger. So I think that is what we should take away from this.
Bharata, I think this enough is enough.
Sir, can Chinese be trusted?
Oh, who can be trusted? That's a big question. You can't.
Okay.
Sir, I will tell them they are the modern day East India Company to grab other countries.
Yes.
Their BRT project is nothing. Just you see,
that's
put the African countries in debt trap.
You see, one thing I will say, Kissinger himself had said that to be enemy of America is quite difficult. To be a friend is fatal. You see, to be a friend of America is fatal. Kissinger himself had said. So let us recognize that it's not a good idea that to abandon our own position over the years, non-alignment, which we call a strategic autonomy today. Let's not abandon that. Well, thank you very much, Varada, for inviting us.
Thank you very much, sir.
We can continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Brother,
lot.
sir, vote of thanks of the ladies.
Thank you, Varda.
So, sir, it is a very, very fruitful discussion and a very good things just we came to know from you, sir. And I express my heartfelt gratitude for coming such eminent persons in this discussion. And I would be happy if there would be some other panel discussion in future on Indian foreign policy with the other countries also.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Captain
Varada?
Sapan Mishra has joined. Captain Sapan Mishra. Captain Sapan Mishra, due to some technical problem, he was unable to join. If he has joined, he may be allowed, or you can give vote of thanks. Mr. Pratap Rao, you can give vote of thanks.
Sir, Saban Misra is not there, sir.
Okay, you can give vote of thanks.
Okay, sir, I express my heartfelt thanks and vote of thanks on behalf of our this forum
Thinker.
and this Thinkers Club, and it is a great thing to listen the eminent persons like Dr. Santosh Mahapatra sir, Malam sir, and Vivek Patnaik sir. And Varda sir, I express my gratitude that at least you carry on such kind of discussions in the future, so that it will be very a learning experience for we younger generations. And thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Namaste, sir.
Thank you, sir. Vivek Patnaik, outing your best suggestion for next meeting capsule. You can suggest
Okay.
out of your all experience. You have served 10 years in the UN.
Okay.
So you have got a lot of international experience.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Namaste,
Good night
sir.
to all.
Namaste, sir. Good night,
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Good
sir,
night.
and good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Namaste. Namaste.